Alrighty, Solstice of Heroes 2020 is finally here, and in today's video I want to cover two things. One, a very brief overview of the event itself and the European aerial zone, and two, ways that you can upgrade your Solstice event armor quickly and efficiently. Alright, part one. The European aerial zone is a unique activity / location where you can either go in as a team of 3 or as a solo player, and the game will match you with up to 2 randoms. You have a limited amount of time to go around the map, killing as many mini bosses as you can. They spawn about 2 at a time, and when your time limit is up, you have to go kill one big giant boss, which officially ends the encounter. When the final boss fight is over, loot chests are going to appear all over the EAZ. How many? Well, it depends on how many mini bosses you killed before the final boss fight. For every mini boss that you kill, you are going to get one post-fight loot chest to appear. The only tricky thing is that they're only going to be revealed on your HUD for a few seconds. Then they vanish, leaving you to go out on a scavenger hunt to find where they are. At the current moment, I don't yet have a map of all the chest drop locations on the EAZ. Some of them are exactly where they were in the 2019 event. Not all of them, but some of them. As soon as I have a completely updated version of where every EAZ loot chest is, I'll be sure to let you know, probably on Twitter, but until then, here is the 2019 chest map. It's not going to be perfect, but it should at the very least give you an idea of where you should start looking. Okay, quick tips on how to perform more efficiently when in the EAZ. Make sure you and your teammates are rocking great PvE weapons. Anarchy, Falling Guillotine, Witherhoard, Mountaintop, Xenophage, all the PvE classics. Make sure you're using some kind of combination that uses them. Number 2, spread out when you're tackling the EAZ. You don't need to all 3 be rolling around in a big clump together. You can cover more ground and kill more mini bosses if you divide and conquer. Remember also that you can whip out your Sparrow while in the EAZ. If you see a mini boss across the map, maybe you just take out your Sparrow, save a little time. Finally, when the loot chests do begin to appear, again, divide and conquer. Try to split up the map into thirds with your fire team. Each one of you should cover one area of the map by yourself. Try to determine who is going to go where in advance, and when the loot chests do pop up, you should have a pretty good idea of how many are going to be in your specific area that you should be looking for. Not terribly important, but worth mentioning, each day in the EAZ there is an elemental modifier. If you pick up 30 elemental orbs that match the Solstice Daily modifier, you are going to get an in-game buff for 30 seconds. On Solar Day, which is the first modifier for 2020, if you pick up 30 solar orbs, your Guardian is going to continually give off waves of solar AoE damage. In addition to that, you're going to have slow health regeneration, and you will double the duration of any solar super. On Arc Day, if you pick up 30 Arc Orbs, you will get increased movement speed, better melee and sword damage, sword ammo regeneration, which is pretty hot, and you'll double the duration of any Arc Super. On Void Day, you will get True Sight, aka Hunter wall hacking, and invisibility when you crouch. You have faster ability regeneration, and surprise, surprise, you will double the duration of any Void Super. While all that stuff is fairly fun, I wouldn't necessarily go out of my way to get these buffs to turn on if I don't need to. I think especially in the EAZ, you're already deadly enough to kill mini bosses with the gear that you have. If you can get these orbs without going out of your way, great. If you have to pick between tracking down a mini boss or going for a pack of random trash enemies so you can get your elemental buff, go for the mini boss. Okay, so why are we doing this? What is the point? Well, for hot-looking armor. Duh. By going to Grandma Levante at the tower, you will be able to acquire first a blue helmet, then a full set of blue Solstice armor. This armor set you've been given will be able to be upgraded multiple times, first to a Majestic legendary set, then to a Magnificent legendary set. For right now, let's focus on part 2 of the video, grinding your Solstice armor quickly and efficiently. Ain't nobody wants to be out there spending more time than they need to grinding this dumb BS to finish their armor. We all want armor, but we want to do as little grinding as possible. With that in mind, let's dive into the tips. First up, and this may sound weird, but to be the most optimal and efficient that you can, try grinding your Solstice armor with friends who are playing the same class that you are. For example, if you're a hunter, play with 2 other friends who are also upgrading their hunter armor. Same thing for Titans, and same thing for Warlocks. Why do this? Well, Hunters, Warlocks, and Titans all have different armor objectives from one another. It's all going to boil down to basically doing the same stuff, but each checklist of things to grind is just a little bit different. To avoid an argument of, hey, I need to grind Gambit, oh, but I need to grind public events, you can make things much easier and faster by grinding out your armor with friends playing the same class as you, because you all have to do the exact same things. If you're looking for a neat little reference sheet that shows you what every piece of armor needs in order to be upgraded for each class, check out this right here, Google Doc I found from Reddit user Chinigan. So yeah, most important by far, play in a fire team if you can, with other people the same class as you. Next up, and this one is huge, always go from specific requirements to general requirements. What do I mean by that? Well, you might have a piece of armor that tells you that you need to complete 5 playlist strikes, and another piece of armor that says you need to collect 100 arc orbs. If that's the case, don't go into a lost sector to farm 100 arc orbs and then hop into the strike playlist when you're finished. You want to get into the habit of completing multiple grind requirements all at once in order to save time. My rule of thumb is that whenever my armor tells me I need to do something incredibly specific, particularly a game type, I go ahead and do that first, ideally while completing something else if I can. When grinding my hunter, the Majestic boots required me to defeat guardians in PvP with void weapons. That is a very specific playlist-focused thing, so I did that first. While doing that, I inadvertently got progress on several other pieces of armor that I was wearing. I got ability kills on my boots, not to mention a bunch of final blows and elemental final blows on other pieces of armor. That is the goal right there. Always start with something really specific and playlist focused, and the other pieces of armor will slowly progress on the back burner. Then when all your specifics are done, just focus on whatever you have left on your checklist. Always go from specific to general. For any armor upgrade that requires you to either do adventures or strikes, I heavily advise running straight through them as if you're trying to do a speed run. Now, I know you might be thinking, hey, you just said to do 2 at once, so shouldn't I be trying to generate orbs or something rather than speed running through a strike? Yes and no. In strikes and adventures, there are always parts you can run through without shooting anyone, and there's parts where you have to stay where you are to fight and kill certain enemies before being able to move forward. Every mission in the game has elements of both. When given the option, I speedrun through any PvE requirement that I can until the game prevents me from doing so. Completing adventures or strikes or whatever, to me, takes far more time than simple orb generation. Here's something else to keep in mind. If you and your friends are at a part in your armor grinding where you do need to collect a certain type of orb, do it all at the same time and make sure that you're moving together in a big clump. Why is that? Well, remember that orbs don't stick around on the map forever. They usually hang around for about 5 seconds before disappearing. So, for example, if you and your teammates are splitting up in a playlist strike to try and collect arc orbs, you're not being as efficient as you could be. Each of your teammates is going to be generating orbs that you could miss out on if you're not all together. If you all stay together though and move in a big clump, you'll each be picking up every elemental orb that drops without losing any to time. Obviously, if your goal is to collect arc orbs in a playlist strike, and you all want to focus on that together, everyone should hop on an arc subclass, put on an arc weapon, and roll around together, making sure that no orbs get left behind. Here's a few oddly specific tips that may come in handy. If upgrading your armor requires you to complete public events, be sure to take note if they have to be heroic or not. If your armor doesn't specify a heroic public event, then you don't have to make it heroic. I know a lot of us have grown really accustomed to always making public events heroic, but if you're trying to upgrade your armor quickly, maybe don't make them heroic if you don't need to. You don't get any bonus progression on your armor for making it heroic if it doesn't require it to be heroic, so you're literally only wasting your own time by doing so. Also, if you're playing on PC, or if you're on console and you don't take forever to load new areas, when you burn through a public event quickly before going to claim the loot chest, which you shouldn't care about anyway, by the way, bring up your map and load into a different area with your entire team. When you've all left, quickly open up your map again, reload back into the area with the public event that you just were. This is essentially double dipping into public events. If you're lucky, you'll be able to load into an instance where another group of random blueberries is finishing up the exact same public event that you just finished. Even if you make it in right at the end, perfect, boom. That's essentially 2 public events completed for the price of 1. Here's a potentially unethical tip. If you need to complete gambit matches, might I suggest simply focusing on other armor objectives like generating orbs and landing final blows with certain weapon types, while maybe allowing the other team to stomp your guts out and win. The armor doesn't require you to win all of your gambit matches, just that you need to complete 10. If you're in a fire team of all friends and you're all trying to upgrade your armor together anyway, none of you, theoretically, should care whether you win or lose a random game of gambit. Might as well make things faster by not bothering or competing with the other team. Focus on your armor upgrades, let the other team destroy you, and end the game quickly. You'll be through your gambit matches in no time. For any armor upgrade that requires you to kill guardians in PvP. Yeah, I know, not everyone enjoys PvP, and those steps can potentially be annoying. Might I remind you that the current weekly rotating PvP playlist is Momentum Control, where it's very easy to get kills quickly on your enemy. Of course, it also means they can get quick kills on you, but I usually found it to be quicker overall. If you're following the rule I laid out earlier of going from specific to general, and there's still armor upgrades that you haven't finished yet, particularly any upgrade that requires you to get ability kills, like a grenade or melee kill. Remember, you can always polish up those requirements really quickly by using the wish wall in the last wish raid to teleport to the Shuro Chi encounter, where you can drop a raid banner and repeatedly farm low-level trash with your abilities over and over. Also, this is probably not at the top of your priority list, but it is worth mentioning. Do not turn in any bounties from Grandma Levante that involve you getting Bright Dust. They are currently not working, at least as of the recording of today's video. Bungie is aware of the issue, and they are working to fix it, so hold onto your Grandma Levante bounties until they fix the issue, and you can cash them in for some sweet, sweet Bright Dust. And that is it for right now. If you follow these tips, you should be able to burn through all of your Solstice of Heroes armor grinding much quicker than normal. It's gonna take you a couple hours no matter what, so be patient, eye on the prize, and you got this in the bag. If you have any tips of your own that you would like to share with your fellow Guardian, please do so down below in the comment section. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.